Hey guys, it's Kelly. I'm back, and I have a great guest with me, someone I really love speaking to, and I'm excited to have her back on the show. It's Karen Chaston. Hey Karen, how are you doing?
Good, thank you, Kelly. How's things over in the US?
Oh, things are really great over here, just a very good Wednesday afternoon. How are things by you?
Yeah, it's raining, but that's okay. It's still pretty cool.
Oh, that's good. We had some rain, but we just got a break today, so it's nice and sunny out.
Oh, excellent.
So let's just jump right into it. Actually, before we do that, I just want to give our listeners your website in case they want to follow along while we're talking. It's karenchaston.com.au, or you can also go to livelovebydesign.com. All right, so Karen, let's get into it. We are going to be talking about The Wizard of Oz today, which I think is a really interesting topic. It's a movie that I grew up with, and I'm so excited to talk to you about this because I know you have some interesting things to tell us as far as analogies with the movie.
Yes, exactly. So let's start off. The other day I was one of the 9 speakers at an event that was called Australia You Have a Voice. And when I was preparing to go on stage, a couple of days before, I figured out what dress I was going to wear, and it was a beautiful navy dress. And I thought, I'm going to go and get some new shoes. So when I was at the shop, the sales lady talked me into getting some red shoes. Now, I love red shoes, okay? I wear a lot of red shoes, but I normally wear it with black or white. I've never really worn it with navy before, and I don't know why I had this block that I couldn't wear them. Anyway, she talked me into it. And then when I was getting ready for the event and everything, I put them on and I thought, wow, they look so great. And then it came to me that it's Dorothy, like Dorothy wore these red slippers. Yeah. And then I started to really start thinking about what does Dorothy mean? Because everything I'm about is teaching people how to, be who they are, to, shine their light, to live and love their life, or, to design their life, their live, love way of life. So then I started looking at Dorothy. Now, who do you think Dorothy was, Kelly?
All I really know is that she was a girl from Kansas who got sucked into a storm and went to a whole other world called Oz.
Exactly. But let's look at her. She was quite an independent character, wasn't she?
Yes, she was. She was always looking, searching for things and kind of exploring on her own.
Exactly. So she questioned where she was, and she actually looked at the predicament that she was in. Now, a lot of people, especially like when you think that movie was written or the actual book was written, in the early 20th century. Mm-hmm. So women were not as independent. Well, they probably were, but they weren't seen to be the independent person. It was more the male. And you look at all the movies that were around then, most women characters were actually there to be saved by men. They weren't, out there exploring their own options and figuring out how they could get ahead in life. And they'd be the ones that would be sitting around moaning and the man had to come and save them, so to speak.
Yes.
Whereas if you look at Dorothy, she was quite the opposite. She actually looked at her surroundings and she thought, right, and she had a couple of witches, sort of the good witch and stuff, tell her to go to Oz and she should, be able to find ways to get home if she went there. So she just went on the real old brick road and she just sort of looked at her circumstances and she started to go along the road, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
Yeah, compared to, that's what I'm saying, so many women, they just sit back and they go, oh, poor me, poor me, poor me, what can I do? And they end up doing nothing.
No, they don't
this
try
is
to
why
change
I
the
love
circumstance.
Pardon?
I was going to say, yes, they don't try to change their circumstances.
That's right. They're sort of just going, oh, well, this is my lot in life. I can't get ahead. I don't, there's nothing I can do. I'm born poor, so I have to stay poor. As opposed to, let's look at life. Let's design the life that actually I want to live as opposed to the life that I've been born into. Okay? Mm-hmm. So then when we go on, so she was a bit of an optimist, wasn't she?
Yes, I would say so.
Yes. And as I said, she was quite intelligent. She knew how to problem solve, and she had the skills to make sure that she did it her way. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You agree?
I do agree, yes.
Yeah. And then she met these three little characters along the way. So we'll start, I'm not sure which order she met them in, but anyway, we'll go this order.
Okay.
So, so the Scarecrow. So the Scarecrow was, he was looking for his brain. So he's looking for his intellect, so to speak. Okay? And actually, as you go through the movie, you sort of start to realise that he actually was exceedingly intelligent, and he was quite resourceful in the way that he helped them to go along the road. What do you feel about the Scarecrow?
I was going to say, I would say he was kind of a problem solver, even though he was looking for his brain the whole time.
Exactly. And that's where I really love about these whole three characters, that when what they thought they were for, they actually already had inside them.
That's true, and they just thought they were missing it, but then the whole time for their searching of what they already had.
Exactly. And that's what I feel with a lot of people that I work with. It's exactly the same way. They're looking for things that they don't really think that they have inside them. Like, so many times I've had people say, oh, there's no way I could get up on stage and talk. And you're going, but it's just a skill that you can learn. It's about everything in life. Whenever people say, oh, there's no way I could do that, it's like, but it wasn't as though anyone who does that was born that way. They actually learned how to do it. So why can't you learn how to do it once you get past your fear?
That's what I was just going to bring that up, actually. I think fear plays such a big part in why we don't sometimes do the things that we know we could possibly be doing, or why we're afraid to take these chances, is we're just so afraid of what's going to happen or how we're going to look.
Yes, but how often is what we're afraid of ever happen?
Not very often. We never really give it a chance to see if something bad would actually happen.
Exactly, but if we move past that fear, and of course, it very rarely happens. So we're stopping this thing that will probably never ever happen, stopping us to become the person who we want to be, to actually, go for that job, or to, even to meet that person that you want to meet, to reach out to that person. Like, I'm always sending emails or reaching out, connections on LinkedIn and stuff, to people who some may consider more successful than I am. But you know what? When you reach out, there's a possibility that they might say yes. Sure, they'll probably say no, but if you never ask, it's always no, isn't it?
No, it's true. I mean, what could you really lose just by asking?
Exactly. So let's go on to our next character. So the Tin Man. Now, he was looking for his heart.
Yes.
Wasn't he?
Yes, he
was. And
was.
he was convinced that he didn't have one. But as he goes along the road, he proves to be a kind and sensitive man. So he was already connected to his heart, and he already loved everyone around him. He understood. He had empathy for people around him.
Yes, he did. He just didn't feel like he really had it, but once he was put in those situations, it came out that he did.
Exactly. And how often is that true in life as well? The way that people they feel that they're disconnected from people. They feel they don't have empathy for them. But once they get into a scenario where they're required to step up, it's amazing what comes out.
Yes, no, it definitely is. And I think sometimes we believe that we're not capable of certain feelings, or that we won't be able to express them or show them properly until we're put in that position.
Yes, exactly. So it comes back to trusting who you are, and actually knowing that when it really comes down to the crunch, to the matter where you really are required to step up, that you probably will, and you won't even realize you'll do it. You'll just do it without even thinking.
Yes, that's true. It's almost like a natural reaction.
Yes, exactly. So then we move on to the third character, who is the Lion. Now, he wants to find his courage, but as he goes along, he ends up proving that he's very courageous. in everything that he does.
Yes, he does. And I think part of the reason is that he has to be, because he has to protect the people that he's with. They give him that reason to be brave.
Yes, I totally agree. So then, when you look at it all, like the whole Wizard of Oz, it's quite interesting in the fact, and remember this movie I think was made in like 1936, 39, around there. It actually it has the female character who actually is the leader of the pack, which is most unusual. She doesn't require a male to come and save her. She's actually the one leading these three male characters, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the Lion. So she's leading them to actually find who they are. And it's through her being courageous, being heartfelt, and using her intellect that they actually get past all these obstacles along the way so that they can end up going to the Emerald City, which of course, and then of course she makes everyone realise that the wizard is actually not even a wizard. He's just a man who had landed there, and everyone thought he was more intelligent than them because he landed on a balloon and everything.
Exactly.
Which is quite. Which you sort of, when you think about life, like how many times is life an illusion? We think it's one way, but it's actually another way.
Well, yes, that's so true. And just as, he did to everyone else, I mean, you can really, you can be somebody that you don't think that, that you're not really. You can be better than you are, which is kind of what he did. Even though he was pretending a little bit, he convinced all these people that he was the great and powerful Oz, this wizard, when he really wasn't.
Exactly. And how many times does that happen in life? We're all convinced that this person is so-and-so, but then they end up being someone else. Either better or worse, it doesn't. I'm not even, judging or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But it's just like, it's all about us questioning, which I've said many times in our interviews. It's about who you are today all comes down to the questions that you ask yourself. And it's a matter of always sort of trying to actually go, like, as we said, with fear. Is this fear stopping me from actually becoming the person who I want to be? Is it actually even real? Like I always like, when you say fear, false evidence appearing real. Because most of the time that's exactly what it is. Because how many times does that fear actually come? Like, let's say, like the example of someone talking on stage. Mm-hmm. What is scary about talking on stage? What would you think would be one of the things that would come up that would stop you from doing it, Kelly? Not that I think anything would stop you from doing anything.
Oh, well, you know what? It's funny because I do get very nervous about talking in front of people, and I'm not terrible at it, but I think I always get very nervous that I'm going to mess up or that I'm going to say something incorrectly, and also when I look at expressions on people's faces that they're going to look bored or just uninterested.
And how often does any of that happen?
I mean, of course, people have their own things going on, so not everybody's going to be attentive, but generally it doesn't go like that. Generally things go fine. Even when things go wrong, they still go fine.
Exactly, because everything is as it's meant to be. And how often would you have stuffed up your words or said something that you thought maybe I shouldn't have said?
Actually, often, but I feel that sometimes, even when that happens, it makes what I'm saying even better because people can relate to how it feels to be up there. I mean, sometimes it never happens, but even when it does, it still goes well.
Exactly. Now, for example, I've said things on stage that I wish later I hadn't said, but I've learned from them, and people have given me their feedback. So then it's all about you learning and growing and then going, okay, so maybe next time I can do this a better way. And as I said, it all comes down to the questions you ask. And every night I have a little process where I ask myself 3 questions. And the first one is, what did I do today that I would do exactly the same next time? Mm-hmm. Okay. The next question is, what did I do today that I would do better next time or differently next time? And then the last one is, what did I learn today about myself, someone else, or the universe? So through asking those questions, you're continually growing. So even if you do something where, you know, your fear actually proves to be a little bit right, you can learn and grow from it so that next time you do it, you'll actually be better at it.
Yes, I totally agree. I think it is so important for us to take from our experiences and especially, you know, go over that list in our heads. Like, you know, as you said, you know, what can I do differently? What can I take from this? You know, what can I do better? And I think when you do those things and you really analyze what you've done, you can appreciate the courage that it took to do what you did and really take that experience with you.
Exactly. And when you have a little bit of courage and it goes pretty well, then you'll have more courage to continually do it. So that's how you design and create your live, love way of life. So it's pretty simple, isn't it, really, when you break it down like that?
It does sound very simple, and I know I've said this before, but I think as people, as human beings, we really can overcomplicate anything that we do in our lives, and I think if we kept it simple, we could realize how easy it is to, like, live these lives that we really want to have.
Exactly. So I guess we have to ask your listeners, what is it today that you can do that you've been a little bit scared of doing? And what steps can you take to actually make it happen?
Now, have you worked with a client that just was so paralyzed with, I guess, fear of doing these things that maybe it was more difficult for them to start taking those steps?
Yes, I have. And it all came back to us breaking down exactly what she was scared of and then working through each of those things that came up so that she could actually do it. And it's amazing how when you break it down into little steps, into little bite-sized steps. Excuse me. Sure, when you look at the whole big thing, you go, oh, my God, there is no way I could do that. But then it's about chunking it down, so that you go, oh, yeah, I can do that. And before you know it, I guess it comes back to the Wizard of Oz, you know, and she probably thought, oh, my God, look how far it is to the Emerald City, and look at all those obstacles in the way. There's no way I can get there. She could have just sat there and then stayed there forever. But no, she broke it down, one step at a time. And, of course, that's how you do anything in life. If you look at the big mountain, you're never, ever going to get there. But if you look at the little steps that you take along the way, you can easily get there. And it's about looking back at where you were, as I like to call it. I'm only in competition with yesterday me. And so when you're looking at who you were yesterday continually and then seeing how far you've come, especially when you do it on a weekly basis, you know, I'm a great believer that you always look at where you're at on a weekly basis. None of these New Year's resolutions, because that's like too daunting, never going to happen. But if you're doing it weekly, you're continually seeing how you're learning and growing and what you've achieved in a week. So therefore, you can easily do anything you want to do.
Well, that's true.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And what's nice about doing it, like you said, on a weekly basis is there's not a whole lot of time. I mean, you know, a week is a good amount of time, but if you look at it from a year perspective, that may seem like it's too big of a jump or maybe too much has happened. I think a week is a good measuring point.
Yes. Like, sure, you can have your what you want to achieve in the year, but then, as I said, break it down into 52 weeks, you know, and see what you can achieve each week so that your yearly goal is actually achieved. You know, like when I went to university, for example, I had 15 subjects to do. And you know, at the start of it, you think, oh, my God, that's so many subjects. It's going to take me, you know, so long to get it. But chunking it down into, you know, just let's look at one subject and then breaking that down into the 13 weeks of that subject and making sure that, you know, we can achieve everything we have to do in that. And before you know it, you've achieved it, you've got your degree, and then you move on.
Yes, I think it's, you know, these things that seem so large and that they're, you know, so hard to accomplish, once we get in the motion of doing them and we're kind of moving along in the process, we forget how easy it can be, or just how we can really get good at what we're doing.
Yes, exactly. And time is, as I've said before, time is the only resource that we can never get back. If we lose money, we can get money back. If we lose a relationship, we can either get that relationship back or we can have another relationship. There's all those sort of things that we need to look at. So it's about making sure that you're utilizing your time to the best. You're not sitting around, wasting time. I heard a couple of years ago, I heard that the average person in America, and I'm pretty sure it's the same in Australia, will watch 4 hours of TV a day. So that equates over an average lifetime to 13 years.
Wow.
Now, isn't that incredible that 13 years of your life, say to life, I think it's like 75 or something, you're sat in front of the TV. And when you look at it like that, you go, how do people say I don't have any time to do that?
Yes,
whatever it is.
That is very true. That's crazy, because I definitely can think of days where I did watch that much TV. To think about that, in that when you put all that time together, how much it equals. Wow, that's really amazing.
It is, isn't it? And that's why I say people go, oh, I'm too busy, I don't have time for that. And you sort of go, well, what are you actually busy doing? Like, let's actually sit down. I have never looked at anyone's calendar and not found them like an extra 5 to 10 hours a week. And they're like, but I'm so busy. And I'm going, yeah, but doing what? Like, are you just being busy? And I think a lot of the people, if they're honest with themselves, they are just being busy for the sake of it. There's so much more time you can find, to actually do it, to maybe study a little bit, to actually learn a new skill, to have more fun, to sit down and have an amazing conversation with someone without the, distractions of your phones or TV, but just to truly sit and listen to someone and have a delicious conversation like we are doing now.
Now, what are some ways that we can get better at our time management?
Is to start to schedule things in your calendar, and start to analyze what's in your calendar. Seriously looking at it going, is this going to move me closer to my goal, any of your goals, in any area of your life? Is this really going to bring me joy? And then the last one is this going to energize me, or is it just going to take away my time and energy and deplete me? And if you get a no to any of them, it's really like saying, well, why am I doing this? Yeah. Like, if it's not moving me closer to my joy, if it's not moving me closer to my goal, I'm actually not going to get any fun or joy out of this, and it's just going to deplete my time and energy. That's when you say, I'm not doing it. Cancel it. See if you can delegate it. There's a lot of things in our life that we could delegate, which will help the other person who we're delegating them to maybe learn and grow, especially at work. So many times we do these things because we think, oh, we have to do this. But why not help someone else to learn how to do it so they can grow as well?
It's true. I guess we feel like maybe we're being unfair by giving people extra work, but truly we're giving them experience, and that's really helpful.
That's right, so that they can then move up the ladder and everything. And I'm not saying just get rid of all that horrible stuff that you don't like to do.
Yes, of course. Let's find the balance here between the two.
Exactly. But the more you look at it, well, actually, it would be good if Sally learned how to do this. This would help her to understand it more. But it also helps people to understand your role and what you're doing, so that they can say, well, because a lot of the time people look, I'm not even sure what they do. Like, I know they look like they're busy all day, but what do they actually do? So by actually sharing with people what you are doing in your role, they can go, okay, now that makes sense, and I can see how that could take longer. But also when you share things, there's infinite number of ways of doing anything. So people may come up with an easier way of doing it, a different perspective of doing it, which in turn will save time. And then if we save time and we're just as productive, well, guess what? We can go home and we can start doing other things in our life. We can, exercise early. We can have time to actually plan and eat healthier meals, which in turn will give you more energy as well.
Yes, and it's so interesting, too, because I know we had spoken about that company that made the workday shorter, and the people there ended up being more productive.
Yep, Tower Paddleboards. Yep. Stefan Aristol is his name, who runs that company. Yeah.
I mean, that was an absolutely brilliant idea. And the fact that people were able to work together to be more productive in that time, and in turn they were able to have more time with their families or in their own lives. I mean, it's just such an amazing idea. And I wish that more people could, try to incorporate this into their businesses.
I totally agree, but they're all going, I'm too busy to even think about that. And that in itself is like, now, wait a minute. Why don't you actually just take some time and think about this, and then maybe you won't be so busy.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Take the time to try to plan it out or map it out or see what works best with your company.
Yes, and that comes back to, I always love the saying from Buddha, that everyone should meditate for 20 minutes a day. And if you have no time, you should meditate for an hour.
I think that's great. And I think that's also something that people don't think will either benefit them, or again, they believe they have no time to do. But I think people forget that meditation is so powerful and just so helpful in just having a better day in general and feeling better, clearing your mind, and just being in a better state of being.
It totally is, and I highly recommend it. And it really does set you up for the day, that you are more energized, but not only that, you're planning your day a lot better when you do meditate it, because you actually think there will be an easy way to do this. You're always constantly looking for that, because you are always constantly connected to not just yourself, but to other people, to the universe. So you're always going, we're all connected, we can do things easier, and together we make a difference.
Yes, we most certainly do. I want to give our listeners your websites again, because I know they love hearing you on our show. So, guys, if you want to hear more about Karen Chaston, you can go to her website, which is karenchaston.com.au, or livelovebydesign.com. And if you'd like to get in touch with her, you can reach her through the website. Karen, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. As you know, I absolutely love speaking with you, and I love having you on the show.
Thank you. And it all started with The Wizard of Oz and Dorothy.
It did. And like I said, I really love that analogy. It's one of my favorite movies. So I think that was such a great topic for us to talk about today.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
I'll
Karen.
talk to you again, Kelly.
Yes.
Bye.
Take care.